There's a moment right before you say something you'll regret. A small gap between thought and speech. Most people don't even notice it. They let emotions take over, responding with anger, frustration, or impulse. But the Stoics trained themselves to recognize this moment, to pause, to think, and to decide whether their words were truly necessary. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic emperors, wrote, "You always have the power of not having an opinion. You can always choose silence." And yet, how many of us feel the need to comment on everything? How many of us let our words be controlled by our emotions instead of our reason? Today, we're breaking down 10 Stoic lessons that will teach you how to control your tongue, choose your words with precision, and ensure that when you do speak, your words hold weight. Lesson number 1. Silence is strength. A lot of people talk too much. They talk to fill the void because they are afraid that, if they don't, they'll look weak. But the Stoics thought the opposite. Nature gave us one tongue and two ears so that we could listen twice as much as we speak, Epictetus said. Letting go is where real power lies. You can take charge of any talk once you learn to be okay with being quiet. You keep your cool while other people show who they are. There's no need for you to react. Don't talk to fill the quiet the next time you're with someone. Allow it to be. Watch how other people respond. You'll quickly see that the person who doesn't talk as much has the most power. Silence is a very powerful weapon, shield, and tool. People don't get this because they think that talking means being in charge, and that the stronger they are, the more power they have. That was not true for the Stoics. They knew that the most important thing is not how many words you say, but how well you can keep quiet when it counts. Last time you were with someone who just wouldn't stop talking, think about it. Could have been that they were afraid of the quiet and were filling in the blanks with useless words. Is it possible that they were fighting and trying to talk over you instead of listening? Now think about how you felt at that time. Did what they said seem strong? Or did they seem desperate, out of control, and unchecked? It was Epictetus who said, "Nature gave us one tongue and two ears so that we could listen twice as much as we speak." It wasn't just a beautiful thought. It was a practical way to live. You become a watcher when you listen more and talk less. People miss what you see. You can pick out trends in the way people talk and hear their fears, doubts, and even lies. Not by being quiet, but by being unable to stop talking. Most people show who they are. Picture yourself in a heated fight. When feelings get the best of people, they say hurtful things that can't be fixed. People either say things they don't mean, or, even worse, let slip things they were trying to keep hidden. That being said, what if you didn't say anything? You didn't protect yourself or fight back. You just let the other person talk? What comes next is really cool. The other person starts to fill the space by adding to what they already said and saying things they didn't mean to say out loud. Because they don't like the quiet, they might even say things that aren't true. They want you to do something. They want to steer the conversation in a certain way by making you say something. But if you don't say anything, they have to think about what they want to say. Cato, an old Stoic who was known for having a lot of self-control, was famous for being able to stay quiet even during heated arguments. His enemies tried to get him to do something bad, but he wouldn't give in to their tricks. He knew that hasty words could hurt you, and that lack of speech could sometimes be more powerful than speaking. When someone pushes you next, take a moment to think. Take in the quiet and feel its weight. Pay attention to how they act. You'll know they were expecting you to lose control if they get antsy, nervous, or angry. You won't, though. You will stay strong, calm, and still. He who does not know how to be silent will not know how to speak, Seneca wrote. The most important lesson is that people who talk a lot never learn how to choose their words carefully. But people who can sit still and watch and think before they speak will be respected and have more power than people who talk a lot of empty words. Do this every day. Do not speak up first the next time you're in a talk. Don't move. Let other people show who they are. If you do decide to talk, make sure your words are carefully chosen, have meaning, and are clear. When everyone is shouting to be heard, the person who talks with purpose will always have the strongest voice. Lesson number 2. Think before you speak. Seneca said, "Speech in a hurry is foolish." People react instead of reacting, which is how most of the harm that words do. They say things without thinking about the effects because they are angry, excited, or scared. A few seconds of silence before you speak, on the other hand, can save you years of sorrow. Ask yourself, is this necessary before you answer someone? Does this help? Will I feel bad about this later? Do not say anything if the answer is no. If you teach yourself to pause before saying, 90% of the problems in your life will go away. People who are smart know how to think about what they say before they speak. Most people don't really think about what they're going to say before they say it. Instead, they react by saying whatever comes to mind at the moment, letting their feelings guide their speech. But once you say something, you can't take it back. They have the power to heal or hurt, to praise or shame, to build trust or break it completely. This is why Seneca's warning is so strong. Speech in haste is folly. You could lose friends, relationships, chances, and even your reputation if you say a few careless words in a hurry. Impulsive speech was seen as a sign of weakness by the Stoics. It meant that the person was not in charge of themselves. They forced themselves to think about what they were going to say, pause before speaking, and pick their words carefully. This one habit can keep you from hurting more than almost anything else. Let's say you get a message that makes you angry. It could be an angry email, a false charge, or a comment made by someone who doesn't know any better. It's possible that your first thought is to shoot back, to protect yourself, get even, or make a point. What if you held off? What if you wait until you feel better before you answer? How often have you felt bad about something you said when you were mad and wished you hadn't? Marcus Aurelius, one of the most important Stoic thinkers, told himself, "Silence is the best way to deal with anger." He knew that words spoken in anger or frustration are rarely smart, and that speaking without thinking are not worth the short-term pleasure they can bring. Take a moment to ask yourself 3 things before you speak. Is this important? Should I say this? Or am I just talking to be heard? While words can be useful sometimes, it's better to be quiet. Does this help? What do you think? Will this make things better or worse? If what you say doesn't help solve the problem, it's just lost air. Will I feel bad about this later? Step back if your feelings are getting in the way of your assessment. Hold on. Take some time to think. In the heat of the moment, what seems like the best thing to say may seem silly later on. The wise person finds the space between thought and words. People who can learn this pause will have a lot less regrets in their lives. People who can't keep their tongues in check will always have to fix the damage they've made. To push yourself, make it a habit to wait 3 seconds before answering anything today. Use those 3 seconds to think, whether you're having a friendly chat, a heated fight, or a tough situation. If you take the time to choose your words carefully, you'll be amazed at how much tension goes away that you don't need. The things you don't say are just as important as what you do. Lesson number 3. The less you say, the more people listen. People knew that Cato, the Stoic politician, didn't say much. People did listen when he did talk, though. Why? Because he didn't talk unless he had something important to say. When you talk a lot, your words lose their meaning. But if you pick and choose what you say, each word has more weight. Start learning how to be brief. Cut your words in half. Get rid of the extraneous stuff in your speech. Less is more when it comes to making an impression. How well you say what you want to say is more important than how much you say. Cato had a great understanding of this concept. He didn't stay quiet because he was weak or didn't know what to say. Instead, he chose to speak only when it would really matter. People paid attention to him when he spoke because he didn't waste time on unimportant things. There's strength in being calm. We can all learn from this. Think of people you look up to who seem to be able to get people's attention without speaking out loud. These people don't talk a lot, they talk the least, but they always mean what they say. People who speak with purpose stand out in a world where most people talk without thinking. What they say is important and makes an impact. Practice being brief if you want to be heard. In every interaction, try not to talk just for the sake of talking. Ask yourself, what is the point of this statement every time you speak? Does this really add anything to the conversation? Do not say anything if the answer is no. When you cut out the junk that you don't need to say, the words that do come out will be much more powerful. Marcus Aurelius wrote a lot about how important it was to keep his speech simple and clear in his meditations. He understood that most of the things people say are just noise, thoughts, complaints, and talk that doesn't matter. During his time as ruler, he had to tune out all that noise and concentrate on what was important. He made his words more important by talking less, and when he did, people paid attention. You can begin this right now. Ask yourself, how can I say this in fewer words the next time you're being talked to? Try to get right to the point and avoid going into too much detail. When you do this, you'll not only be heard better, but people will also start to value your words more because they know you're not just talking to fill time, but because you have something important to say. Don't forget that people will listen more if you say less. Your words have more weight when there is silence. And every word you say shows how careful and disciplined you are when you speak with purpose. Lesson number 4. Control your emotions, control your words. You have power over your mind, not outside events, Marcus Aurelius told himself every day. Know this, and you will be strong. The way most people talk is based on how they feel. If they're mad, they lash out. If they're excited, they make empty promises. And if they're not sure, they speak out of fear. The Stoics, on the other hand, learn to stop and think about their feelings before acting on them. When you feel angry, don't say anything. Take deep breaths. For now, let the feeling go. When you're calm, you should decide if your words are needed. Mastering your speech starts with controlling your emotions. What Marcus Aurelius said is very true. You have power over your mind, not over outside events. Know this, and you will be strong. This easy but profound truth is what emotional control is all about. We don't always have control over the people or events we meet, but we do have full control over how we react to them. That includes the things we say. But most people let their feelings guide them. They say rude things when they're mad. People who are excited say things they might not be able to keep. People say things to avoid strife when they're scared, even if it means telling the truth. The Stoics believed that not being able to control one's feelings was a sign of weakness. So they spent their whole lives trying to control their emotions and everything else inside them. Learning to pause before speaking when feelings are high is one of the most important parts of this practice. We've all said things we later felt bad about because we were angry or frustrated. During those times, we need to remember ourselves that words spoken in a fit of anger are rarely wise. We gain control of our speech when we stop to breathe, notice the feeling, and try to understand it before we speak. Think about a time when someone said something that made you angry. A criticism, an insult, or an unfair charge could be what it is. Your first thought might be to fight back, to defend yourself, to explain what you did, or to get back at them. But don't act right away. Instead, take a step back. Take a break. Take deep breaths. For now, let the feeling go. Making this choice will help your mind become clear again. You should only react after the emotional storm has passed, and even then, you will respond with more thought, more control, and more know-how. Seneca, who was also a great Stoic, knew this well. He told us that we shouldn't talk when our feelings are very strong. If something in the outside world hurts you, it's not that thing itself that bothers you, he wrote. This is a very important realization. The event itself is not what makes things worse. How we think about and respond to it is. We can also keep ourselves and others safe by learning to control our reactions, by pausing, observing, and thinking before we talk. When your feelings start to rise, know that silence can help you. When you feel angry, excited, or scared, don't give in to the urge to speak up. Take deep breaths. Allow the first wave of feeling to pass. Then, when you're calm and clear-headed, think about whether what you're going to say is important, helpful, and true. Emotional control like this will not only keep you from getting into fights that aren't necessary, but it will also help you talk to people more clearly and honestly. If you can keep your feelings in check, you'll also be able to speak clearly. Your words will be taken more seriously, respected, and wise if they come from a calm place instead of an angry one. Lesson number 5. Listen more than you speak. It is impossible to learn that which one thinks one already knows, Epictetus wrote. A lot of people don't really listen. Their turn to talk has just come up. But listening is where real knowledge comes from. Listen carefully before you talk. Pay attention to what the other person says. See things from their point of view. Then and only then should you decide if your words belong out loud. People who listen more, learn more. And people who learn more have smarter things to say. It is impossible to learn that which one thinks one already knows, Epictetus said. This piece of advice is essential for understanding speech, but most people don't pay attention to it. After making up their minds ahead of time, they just wait for their turn to talk, never really listening to what the other person has to say. That's not talking, that's putting on a show. Most of the time, it doesn't help people grow or learn. But listening is where real knowledge starts. It's not enough to just hear words. You also need to understand what they mean. It means paying attention to what the other person is saying without judging them or coming to a conclusion too fast. This makes listening an active process that needs your full attention, patience, and an open mind. Think about the things you say. How many times do you think about what you're going to say next while someone else is talking? Do you often speak up before someone else is done, eager to share your ideas or make your point? While this is a normal habit, it makes it impossible to connect with someone truly. When you listen to someone, you should not think about what you're going to say next. You need to give them time to talk so that what they say really sinks in. Then you'll really understand their point of view. In his writings, Seneca often talked about how important it is to listen. He said that people who talk too much miss the chance to learn from others because their own limited knowledge gets in the way of getting a better understanding. These people, called Stoics, thought that listening helped you learn more about other people and yourself. If you listen carefully, you might pick up new thoughts and ideas that you would have missed if you were in a hurry to say what you think. When you listen carefully, you let what the other person says shape how you understand them. You see things from different angles, your mind grows, and your knowledge grows. And when it's your turn to talk, you'll say things that come from knowing, not guessing. Their actions will be more intelligent, kind, and most importantly, powerful. Make an effort to listen more than you speak the next time you're discussing something. Don't just wait for your turn to talk. Really listen to what the other person has to say. You should ask yourself, what do they really mean? How can I learn from their point of view? Then and only then should you talk. Your words will have more meaning, and your talks will be more beneficial for everyone if you make listening your main goal. People who listen more, learn more, and people who learn more have smarter things to say. Lesson number 6. Not every opinion needs to be shared. Nothing is more honorable than a man who keeps his tongue in check, Seneca said. These days, everyone feels the need to say what they think about everything. However, the Stoics knew that not all thoughts need to be spoken. Before you say what you think, ask yourself, will this make things better? Or does my ego just want to be heard? If what you say doesn't add anything, don't say it. Sometimes it's better to be quiet. Nothing is more honorable than a man who keeps his tongue in check, Seneca said. This quote shows how the Stoics saw the power of self-control. In a world where everyone has an opinion on everything, the Stoics knew that talking for no reason makes your words less important. When other people around you are also wanting to say what they think, it's easy to give in to the urge. But the most important thing about talking is not how often you talk, but what you mean when you say something. People usually have to say what they think, even if they aren't asked. Every thought or comment is shared for everyone to see on social media, which makes this urge stronger. Stoics, on the other hand, valued knowledge and clarity, and knew that not all opinions had to be heard. Many of the things we say are actually driven by our egos, not the desire to share real knowledge or add to a talk, but the desire to be understood, praised, or heard. Before you talk, ask yourself these important questions. Will this make things better? Will it make a real difference in the conversation? Or am I just talking to boost my own ego, get attention, or make a point? If the answer is that what you have to say won't help or add anything, it's better to be quiet. Leaving out words that aren't necessary not only protects your honor, but it also makes the words you do use more powerful. Marcus Aurelius also knew how important it was to be quiet when talking. Be silent or say something better than silence, he wrote in Meditations. To put it another way, silence can be stronger than words. It gives you time to think and understand things better, and it keeps unimportant thoughts from getting in the way of the times when your words really matter. However, this doesn't mean you should never speak again. Instead, it's a call to think about when your words are really needed. There is too much noise, confusion, and division when there are too many views. But if you talk with purpose, your words will come from wisdom instead of ego. The next time you want to say something, stop and think about it for a moment. Ask yourself, do I need to do this? Does it really help anyone, or am I just talking to make myself heard? Being aware of this will help you use silence more effectively in your talks, the more you do it. When you learn to control your tongue, you don't have to constantly prove yourself. Instead, you can focus on the times when your words will really matter. The Stoics thought that deliberate speech, or only saying when it has meaning and value, was very powerful. If you follow this rule, you can improve both your talks and your relationships by talking less and getting more done. Lesson number 7. The power of saying, I don't know. As a general rule, people value honesty more than fake confidence. But many people are afraid to say, I don't know. They feel like they need to answer every question. But the Stoics thought this was a weakness, not a strength. Say you don't know something when you do. Say, I'm not sure, but I'll find out. Being this honest gives you respect and keeps you from making up lies to fill the void. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Socrates, who is known as the founder of Stoicism, said, "This strong statement of not knowing something wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of humility and skill." But in the world we live in now, many people feel like they need to always have an answer. They are afraid that if they say they don't know something, it will make them look stupid, weak, or unable. So to keep up the image of competence, they fill conversations with ideas that aren't fully thought through, assumptions, or outright lies. But the Stoics knew something very important. Being honest is much more important than acting like you know everything. When there's a social pressure to look like you know something, it can be awkward to say you don't know something. People value you more when you say, I don't know, but I will find out, instead of trying to fake an answer. Accepting that you don't know everything and being ready to learn builds your credibility and earns the trust of others. Genuineness is something that people can tell, and they will value it more than empty confidence from someone who says they know everything. He said in Meditations, it's not that we don't have enough time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. We waste time by acting like we know things we don't, and having talks that only make us feel better about ourselves instead of helping us learn. Stoic wisdom tells us that we should never feel bad about admitting that we don't know something. The truth is that this statement is a call to grow. It lets people learn, ask questions, and get a better sense of things. Think about a time when you didn't know the answer to a question in a talk or meeting. Don't rush to answer, because your answer might be wrong or only partly right. Instead, take a moment to say, I don't know, but I'll look into it and get back to you. This one easy thing changes the tone of the conversation. There is no longer a game where you pretend to know everything. That way, you show that you value truth over ego. People will admire your desire to learn because they will see that you are serious about it. Saying I don't know is also helpful because it frees you from having to act. You can talk to them with openness and humility instead of being protective or afraid of being wrong. When you talk to people, it's important to remember that you don't have to know everything. The most important thing is that you can stay centered, know your limits, and take responsibility for your growth. When you don't know something, say, I don't know. It will help you. You can be honest, learn, and go into every exchange with a sense of openness and growth because of this simple but profound statement. No, it's not a sign of weakness. Instead, it's a strong way to show that you're dedicated to seeking knowledge, not just for yourself, but also for those around you. Lesson number 8. Words have consequences. They knew very well how powerful words could be. A careless comment can break up a friendship. A complaint that isn't necessary can hurt your image. A careless word can start a fight where there wasn't one before. Do not be overheard complaining, even to yourself, Marcus Aurelius said. If all you want to do is vent your anger with words, don't say them. There should be a reason for everything you say. Marcus Aurelius knew how powerful words could be when he said, "Don't be heard complaining, not even to yourself." The Stoics were very aware of how what we say can affect not only our own happiness, but also the happiness of those around us. Words have power. They can heal scars, make people feel better, and motivate them. But they can also hurt people's identities, break up relationships, and cause needless fights. Once spoken, words can't be taken back. When they do something, it can stick with people for a long time. We talk too much without thinking about what might happen. When we're angry, we say things out of the blue or spread rumors without thinking about how our words might affect other people. It's simple to get into the habit of whining or speaking based on how we feel. The Stoic way, on the other hand, is to remember that what we say has effects on both ourselves and the people we talk to. Just think about how quickly a careless word can make things worse. Because of something you said in a hurry, a small disagreement can quickly turn into a full-blown fight. Or think about how a simple complaint can change how other people see you. People will start to think of you as negative, difficult, or rude if you always vent your anger. This is true whether it's really how you are. This was something the Stoics knew, so they were careful with what they said. To practice mindful speech like a Stoic, you have to ask yourself, will this conversation add anything useful? Will it make things clear, peaceful, or easy to understand? Or will it make things more difficult, hurt people, or make more noise? It's better to keep quiet if what you have to say doesn't matter. You can learn self-control even when you're just complaining to yourself about how bad things are. Instead of letting out your anger, stop and think about what's really bugging you. Is there something to learn? Are you able to deal with things more wisely, patiently, or gratefully? In his letters, Seneca agreed with this point of view and said that controlling your speech is an important part of having a good life. The wise man is careful not only with what he does, but also what he says, he said. He only talks when it's necessary, and when he does, he picks his words carefully to make sure they match his values. Being mindful will help you understand that saying things that aren't important often comes from an emotional response rather than a well-thought-out reflection. Picture yourself in a setting that makes you angry. Maybe a coworker is being tough, or something isn't going the way you planned. It's possible that your first thought is to complain or show how angry you are. But stop for a moment. Is it important to say? Will it make things better, or just make you more angry? Is this complaint going to make things worse instead of better? Pick quiet if the answer is no. Make sure that when you do speak, you do so with a reason. Don't whine, talk about other people, or speak out of anger the next time you want to. Remember that what you say has effects. The way other people see you will be affected by them, as well as your interactions and your own stress level. Don't scream. Instead, take a moment to think. Speaking should only be done when it will lead to something good. Mindful speech will help you avoid arguments that aren't necessary and will improve your ability to talk to people in a wise and honest way. Lesson number 9. Don't speak just to fill the silence. Cato, who was a very important Stoic figure, was known for being able to sit still for long amounts of time. And his silence wasn't a sign that he wasn't interested or involved. He chose not to talk unless he had something important to say. The Stoics knew that talking just to fill the void makes your words less powerful. People start to tune you out when you talk without a reason. Cato would be able to sit through a whole meeting and not say a word. Why? He knew that talking when you don't have anything important to say hurts your reputation. Next time you're talking to someone, don't speak up just because there's quiet. Let someone else break it first. Your words have more power when you speak less. In the busy world we live in now, silence is often seen as awkward. We're so used to hearing noise all the time, from social media, the news, and even everyday talk, that the idea of being quiet seems strange to us. Cato, on the other hand, shows us that we shouldn't be afraid of silence. It can actually be a very useful tool for both personal growth and clear conversation. You can listen, watch, and choose your words more wisely when you don't feel like you have to fill every empty space with words. Do not speak up just to break the silence when you are talking to someone. Instead, let other people speak first. This pause not only lets you think, but it also changes the tone of the talk. People pay more attention to someone who doesn't talk as much because their words seem more deliberate and well thought out. In this way, silence is a tool that makes what you say stronger. Think about how often you feel like you need to talk when there's an awkward silence. Once in a while, there is quiet that won't go away, and instead of letting it pass, we feel the need to fill it. But if you don't say anything, the talk can flow on its own. You also give yourself the chance to listen more carefully and only speak up when you have something useful to say. You should learn how to be silent the next time you're in a talk. Don't talk just to fill the silence. Just let the quiet last for a moment. Let other people talk first, and then think carefully about what you want to say before you answer. People will respect you for staying calm and thoughtful, and your words will have more of an impact. Lesson number 10, speak with purpose. Marcus Aurelius had a rule: never vent your anger to anyone. There should be a reason for every word. Don't talk about other people. Do not make pointless small talk. No needless bad things. Before you talk, ask yourself, is this important? Don't say anything if not. Be smart about how you use words. Let no one ever hear you complain was a simple but strong rule that Marcus Aurelius lived by. This Stoic principle is more than just a reminder not to whine. It's also a reminder to speak only when you mean to. The Stoics knew that what you say has weight after you say it. They can build or destroy, lift or lower. So every word you speak should be carefully chosen, in line with your ideals and meant to make things better. Think about the last few talks you've had. How many of them were just talking or complaining for no reason? It's something we all do. When we talk without thinking, we often fill the space with words that don't really add anything. But the Stoics thought of words as a useful thing that shouldn't be thrown away. They thought that it was better to keep quiet if what you said didn't help the bigger picture. Before you speak, ask yourself, what is the point of this? Does what you said make things clearer, solve a problem, or give a positive point of view? Have you come to talk to pass the time, spread rumors, or complain? If they say no, it's best to keep quiet. Being quiet is not a sign of weakness. It shows that you are strong and in control. The words you use become more important when you speak with meaning. People pay more attention when they know you won't waste their time with unimportant small talk. What you say matters because it shows what you believe, what you want, and how well you can think things through before you talk. The Stoic way is to live with purpose and make sure that every word has a bigger meaning. Seneca also said, "We are more often scared than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." This shows how important it is to speak with care. That is, a lot of the bad things we say come from our own fears and worries that aren't based in reality. If we spoke more carefully, we could keep other people from getting hurt and put through needless stress. The next time you want to talk, stop and think about whether your words are helping someone else. Pick quiet if they don't. In addition to making it easier for you to talk to people, this will also help you live a more peaceful and purposeful life. Remember that words are tools. If you use them well, they will have a lot more power than you thought. One of the most self-disciplined things you can do is master your words. The Stoics knew that what we say changes what is real. Be careful, smart, and precise in what you say, and you will gain respect, power, and peace of mind. Which lesson really hit home for you? Send me a message below. I read all of them. Also, sign up now if you're serious about learning self-discipline. We'll see you next time.